Okay, hi everybody, it's good to be back. As you probably noticed, I've been away for a bit, had to take a break. It's been a crazy summer, but I'm doing good now. I would like to thank those of you who checked in on me, Linda, Barb for the phone support, Don Killian for the email support so I could figure out what the blank was going on because I was doing so good over the summer. I did an audition for a live project, which I had to bail on even though I got the job, and it was really heartbreaking for both of us. Just trying to go at it too quick. It's a word to the wise, and this is what my video is going to be on today, so you might want to, I could be a little long-winded today because there's a lot to talk about. So if you need to get a drink of water or go to the bathroom, put me on pause or whatever and do what you need to do because I've got a lot to cover today. And I want to specifically warn all of you that when you start feeling good after a year off or so, you're going to be tempted to go back at things at the pace that you did, and the likelihood is it'll be what happened to me. It nailed me flat. I was just trying to, whoa, too much. There were some other things that got thrown into the works, which I'm going to go into as well, but I wanted to address a few things before I get started and off on a rampage with that. The noise factor, okay, that's something I can't control too much. I know I've had a few posts and I apologize because I know how hard any kind of noise is to your nervous system coming off these drugs. When I was tapering, and probably even for several months after I tapered off the last dose, I could not stand anything. Pin dropping would be too much noise. So I totally apologize, but I think part of the noise on those videos that I have had some comments about was there were fighter jets from Luke Air Force Base. We are in the flight path, and during the spring and the fall, it's particularly bad because I have my windows open and I can't sort of isolate what noise I do have with just the AC during the summer, which now that's all this running, so hopefully that's not too noisy when it flips on. But sorry guys, I do the best I can to try to keep things quiet because I still have noise sensitivity, but it's nothing like it was for the first year. I had trouble. Like I said, my hot buttons were barking dogs and leaf blowers. It just completely, I would just lay there and just, my whole nervous system would go whacked out with it, particularly leaf blowers. I hated that more than anything. Still do. Still can't stand leaf blowers. I think they should be outlawed. They're like noise pollution to me. So anyway, okay, and then there have been some people that I want to address. Well, I'm gonna go back to that in a minute because this is gonna get covered when I talk about the waves. Okay. What started this whole wave for me, and I'm gonna go back into the whole endocrine thyroid thing again because it's huge. These drugs really downregulate your hormone system, particularly the thyroid, adrenals. The adrenals are the key thing because I think it completely fries your adrenal glands. You're so stressed, and it's so stressful for your brain to recover from these drugs and all the things that happen while you're healing, that your adrenal glands, the lack of sleep, just everything that goes with it. We all know all those things, so I don't have to go into the details, hopefully. As I've mentioned, at about, I think it was like right after withdrawal. I mean, my brain just went cuckoo, and carb binging. I was eating everything in sight, and a lot of people I've talked to have had weight issues. Barb and I have talked. I've talked about that quite a bit, of going high and then low on your weight because it's just like you can't control your appetite. And for a while I think that's good because I think that a lot of us get really super skinny. I did about 100 pounds, and I'm still, with the weight that I've lost over the summer, up about 7-8 pounds from where I was at in the worst of the weight loss during withdrawal. So it can have a crazy effect on the metabolic system and how you digest food. As you know, I still have the benzo belly. I'm coming up on my 20th month this month, and really common from a lot of support that I got at a 19-month wave. A lot of people get them at 19 months. I don't know what the deal is with that number, but for some reason it seems to hit a rough spot. So I almost have my brain completely back this week. I've been out more. I've been able to resume my recording projects. Still a little tired and not quite able to handle as much as I did before this happened, but I'm headed in the right direction, so I don't want anybody to get discouraged because of what happened to me. And it's just, if you do it right and take the time to give your nervous system and brain time to heal, I would never recommend you push before 2 years is over, because it just seems like 2 to 3 years is the average recovery time. The more I see different stories and talk to more people and whatnot. So the weight loss thing, for a while, you can eat just anything and you're still losing weight. So my brain had no conceptual, rational feel, because I have no hunger or fullness sensation in my gut. It's something I've read a lot of other people deal with, this benzo belly thing. It's part of the deal. And I don't know whether, for a lot of people, they said it's come back online. I'm hoping that it's going to for me, because what I've gone through this last month has just been absolutely insane to get everything regulated again. But what happened was I went from being able to eat almost anything, and then of course your thyroid, my T3 crashed, my hormones, just after the Lunesta taper and withdrawal a year ago, everything just went haywire. I was so stressed out after coming off 2 back-to-back narcotics that are GABA drugs that my body was just like, I can't maintain anymore. So very stressful. And if you're coming off just one, you're lucky. I got a cross tolerance issue, and I'm here to tell you that has not been fun, figuring out what's been causing what. Because during about the month of June, July, I had gone into my PA. I see a PA, not a doctor, because they'll give me any lab I ask them for. I've pretty much taken control of my own health care, my own labs. I do not trust doctors. And when my cholesterol had gotten really high, because I gained a bunch of weight over the winter, and it just creeps up on you because you're just eating, and you have no concept of when to stop or anything. And so I was just out of control, and I put on 10 pounds, and I'm like, I couldn't fit in my clothes, and I'm a little person, so it was pretty crazy. So I had, always been able to just cut back on what I eat and lose weight with no problem, because I was always been a pretty lean person most of my adult life, and I haven't had to diet. So I had no idea what I was doing, and I restricted my calories too much for benzo withdrawal. And I don't want to, encourage anybody to try to diet for the first couple years that you're in recovery from these drugs, even maybe 3 or 4 years. Unless you're just really careful with just cutting back a little bit on your calorie intake to cut the weight loss issue. But I lost 10 pounds over the summer, and I wasn't even really, I was trying, but I was way overestimating the caloric content of vegetables, if you can believe that. I mean, when I started counting everything and looking everything up and adding up the calories, I couldn't believe how few calories actually were in vegetables. And that's pretty much all I ate all summer, were salads and smoothies, berries, and protein, and I'm just, all of a sudden, I had gone to this audition, and I had a bunch of stress with a couple of projects that I was working on that I started getting really bad blood pressure spikes. I mean, I've always had low blood pressure too, and never had a problem with blood pressure at all. And I was getting spikes up to 174 over like 90, 100. It was intense, and I would be so shaky that I felt like I was going to pass out. I had to call the paramedics a couple times. I actually ended up in the ER one time because I thought I was going to black out. And I've already had, as some of you know, about 4 blackouts total that have resulted in head trauma of some kind. First one, a fracture, which is how I ended up on disability to my left orbit. The other 2 were blackouts right after the end of the benzo taper. One at home, I was by myself, and just bam, next thing I know, I wake up on the floor and I had to go to the ER to get my head stitched up. Big gash, and that resulted in a mild concussion and vertigo. And at the end of the taper, you don't want to deal with that kind of stuff, trust me. And then I had one a few months after I'd been off the benzos, just no warning. I had eaten, no warning whatsoever. I was in the grocery store, did all my shopping, was feeling fine one minute, and the next minute I'm at the cash register and I just got super dizzy, and the next thing I know, I wake up on the concrete floor. I had sprained my back, and I'm surprised I'm still alive to talk to you guys about this stuff. Honestly, these drugs are evil. They are evil. And so I'm going to do whatever it takes to help whoever needs help and get the word out so that we can prevent other people from taking it. Any of it is bad. So that blackout was pretty scary, given that there was no explanation whatsoever. I'd been done with the benzos for a few months, and just so and then the last one was after I had pneumonia. My oxygen levels were lower, so the sensitivity to my brain, which is already huge, was worse. In January when I was in the hospital. When I got out, I had been taking niacin for years for headaches, and it always worked great, never had any problem with it, but it caused a blackout. I was home by myself after the pneumonia, and the next thing I knew, I woke up on the bathroom floor with lacerations all over my face and another concussion, which on top of pneumonia was not fun. So thank God 2017 is ending better than it started, because I don't think I could have taken another year of the stuff I had been going through. So, all right, so back up a little bit. So the blood pressure spike started. I started having dizzy spells. I started like just having all this weird stuff going on. And the other thing that added insult to injury was I'm still tapering off the Phenibut. I've got to about the halfway mark, which with the benzos and the Lunesta, when I got halfway through the taper, I needed to slow it way down, because all of a sudden, instead of 2.5% of the taper that you originally started at, for instance, if you start with 10 milligrams, you're tapering at 2.5, so that's 2.5, right? Okay, but once you get down to 5 milligrams, that becomes 5%. So you're doubling the amount that you're cutting the overall dose that you started out with. So not at a very high dose. I was not taking much of it to begin with, but your sensitivity level coming off these drugs is just through the roof, and it takes a really long time to recover. I thought that I was Superwoman. I've always been pretty healthy and athletic, and this for me has just been really, I mean, I'm stunned that, and y'all, I'm probably older than a lot of you, so let me tell you, it gets harder. It's just, I'm glad that didn't wait till I was 80 to come off this stuff, because I can't imagine what this is doing to some of our elderly population. I just think it's tragic, the drug mentality with this healthcare system. Okay, so had all the ingredients for the perfect storm, which occurred. And before I could figure out any of it, which I finally, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, was able to one by one add up things and figure out what was going on. So we stopped the Phenibut taper for the time being. Don Killian has helped me with all of this. He said, till you're healed from the original meds that you've come off with, to wait to get off anything else. And I was just in too big of a hurry to get off everything because I wanted this crap out of my system after it making me sick for so long. And it really doesn't work that way. In terms of faster is always better, because I've got a lot of people in cold turkey withdrawal that I talk to and see, and it's not a pretty sight for a lot of them. Not everybody, but a lot of them, it's really bad. And I can't, I'm at a point too where I just can't go through any more tapering at this point. I was feeling too good over the summer, and if I have to stay on this little bit that I've got left for another 6 months to a year, then so be it. I've got too many opportunities that are stacking up for me, and I can't sit here and just do nothing for another 2 years like I've been. Actually, it's been a total of about 5 years that I've been tapering from all of it, the benzos, the Lunesta, and the Phenibut, and it's been a long haul, a really long haul, but it made me really strong, and that's what it'll do for you, because just nothing in life can rock you after this. It's just like impossible, because it's like you look at people's lives and they're freaking out about this small stuff, and you're like, really? What's the problem? So, hang in there with it, and it does get better. I mean, I've had to give myself that pep talk so many times the last month and think, right, is this ever going to be over with? Because you do think that. We all think that. And the survivors will tell you that, yes, it does get over with. And like I said, I'm doing a lot better this week. Each week has been a little better. The blood pressure's level now, and I got a food scale. This is like the most anal I've ever had to be in my life, honestly. But I'm weighing everything down to the mushrooms in my salad. Mushrooms don't have a lot of calories. Like, you can have a big mushroom, huge mushroom, for like 5-10 calories. It's like ridiculous. I was like way overestimating the calories in the food I was eating. And so I weigh that, and then I have put together, I got a scale so I could weigh myself at home, and then figured out about what I needed to maintain the weight that I'm at right now, which is a good weight for me. I've typically been between 105 and 108 most of my adult life, and I feel pretty good now that I've got it leveled out at that point. So I figured out that I need about 1,800 calories a day to just maintain that weight, not gain or lose, so that I can keep everything stable. And blood pressure's been good for the last couple, 2-3 weeks now, and slowing the Phenibut down, my brain's coming back online. These drugs work differently in every case, so I think what was happening with the Phenibut is, since it works on your GABA B, it has a slightly different, it doesn't have the sedating effects. It will at higher doses, but it has more of a dopagenic effect from what I understand, so it kind of enhances brain function. So it can be more of a feel-good, euphoric type drug from the posts I've read. And this is one of the reasons I'm doing this today, is because I've had so many people ask me about Phenibut and Chill 6, which Phenibut is in Chill 6. It's also in Cabanase by Neuroscience, and they don't label these things very well, if at all. It just has this microscopic thing that says, ask your healthcare practitioner if you're taking sedatives. Are you kidding? My healthcare practitioner gave it to me. Seriously? They don't know about any of this crap, and most of the doctors I'm talking to, naturopaths included, are saying, well, have you tried Cabanase? And I'm like, yeah. And they're not getting it. I tell them what's going on, and they don't get it. They're morons, most of them. So you have to take this into your own hands, and I can't encourage it enough. So what I wanted to, good news, I do have some good news, encourage people, because with this whole thing that's happened over the summer, I went, and I, just because I'd been through so much stuff, I decided to have my PA do a bunch of hormone tests and labs. Good news is without any thyroid medication, my T3 is now starting to convert again. It's gone up 4 points on its own with just eating regular meals like 4 or 5 times a day, smaller, 300 to 400 calorie type things. I'll make a huge salad like early in the day, and I'll eat it in half. I eat part of it early in the day and then part later with a bunch of stuff, and then a couple poached eggs, a smoothie with that collagen protein that I've talked about. That's really good. And I got some protein bars at the health food store today that look really good. In fact, they have mostly organic stuff in it, no sweetener. I think they're sweetened with something called monk fruit, and I have to look that up because I think it's something like goji berries or some kind of thing like that, but it's not even any real sweetener in it, and I haven't tried them yet, so the jury's still out. I'll have to get back to you on the protein bars, but just something. And it can be a 200 or 300 calorie snack, whatever. And most of the people I've talked to, that Jocelyn's another one, I've watched her videos about the high protein. She was doing over 100 grams of protein. I don't think I'm getting quite that much, but I am doing probably between 65, 70 a day and 100 easily, because I'll eat, some kind of salmon or chicken with my salad, and then I'll have, like I said, the protein in the smoothies and a few nuts and things, and I make my own kefir from raw milk. I don't know if I've mentioned that or not, but that's pretty high in protein. And some of you can't do dairy, I know that, but I'm just giving you a kind of rough idea. The other things, and I've talked about this in earlier videos, probably not the seaweed, but definitely this Thyrofem. I haven't been my Vanna White thing in a while, so this is it. This is my Thyrofem, and what this has is what you need for thyroid conversion. It's really important. Selenium, minerals, selenium, zinc, those are the 2 key things. Tyrosine, which helps convert thyroid. And I've been able to, over the last 6 months, bump my T3 conversion up with doing this. And a lot of you guys might not like seaweed, but I like salty stuff, so I just eat this out of the package. It's just dulse. It's just plain old seaweed. It's very salty, and I just take a chunk of it and snack on it. And it has helped my thyroid function without having to take, because I was having a horrible time with the medication. It was over-zazzing my system, and my PA kept trying to encourage me to take it. Well, I finally ditched that, and a bunch of other stuff that is just too much for your brain. You can't take it. So food, best medicine. Eat healthy, because I think I was reading an article that my pharmacist that I have worked with and who has helped me dramatically, sent me an article on the effects of women over 40, 50 menopause age that were taking 5+ medications, 10+ medications. I mean, I saw what just 2 did to me, and I'm thinking, really, 5, 10? I'm avoiding everything at all cost. My cholesterol was high when I put on all that weight. My doctor or PA wanted me to try diet first, which is one of the things that got me going on the weight loss thing, because I thought, I'd read where weight gain can just cause cholesterol to go up. And it was pretty high. My LDL was 277. By doing all this over the summer, I not only dropped the 10 pounds, which wasn't the best way to do it. I didn't realize I was restricting my calories too much, but by eating this way and adding good healthy oils, olive oil, flaxseed oil, you can do fish oil, I eat salmon, I dropped my cholesterol over 100 points. Woo! So T3 went up, thyroid production went up, the cholesterol went down, things are starting to level out. My adrenals are still a little bit stressed, but I think they're coming back slowly, and I've started sleeping better this week, so not quite as over zazzed as I was, but it does take a little bit to get everything leveled out. So we are definitely halting the Phenibut taper for now. I only have about 350 milligrams to go, somewhere in that neighborhood, and I think that for now I'm just like ready to be done with all of this. I mean, every day that I write my diet log down and my calorie intake and I'm weighing the food, I'm like, really? I've never had to do this in my entire life. So, but if any of you guys are having this problems with the food intake after, you know, you've been off for a while, it is the best way to just sort of get everything level out, because you balance your blood sugar, you balance your cortisol levels, everything by doing it this way. And you're eating, I mean, I'm eating really healthy food right now, just a lot of vegetables and fruits and protein and all the things that you need, you know, some seeds and stuff to get the omega-3s and, you know, that sort of stuff. Omega-3 is really important. So I kind of wanted to back up about all these drugs. This article, it was unbelievable, the list, and you know, there are statin drugs for cholesterol and benzodiazepines and antidepressants that are on this list that they should be reconsidered in lieu of diet. Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but have you like looked, I mean, and it's like, I'm not being judgmental about this because it's a serious health crisis in this country and probably around the world, but our food supply is so bad. And which I'm going to get on another subject about GMOs in a moment here, because this is scary. It really is scary. But I've noticed since I've been out and about more how overweight, and I don't mean like 20, 30 pounds overweight, like a little overweight. I mean obese people there are. Never used to be like that when I was younger. It was the exception to be really overweight and not the norm. And now it just seems like you see a handful of fairly lean, thin people compared to the masses who are extremely overweight, and it's because of all these drugs. It's because of the diets that we're eating and the GMOs. I watched a documentary called GMO OMG. Oh my God. That was really frightening. When the chemical companies own our food supply, that's when we really need to question what we're putting in our mouths, every bit of it. I mean, even down to these protein bars that I bought this morning at the health food store. It was like all the other stuff had something in there that was sugar disguised as something else. And even stevia, which is better than most sweeteners because it doesn't have any calories, but the processing that they do to extract it into these liquids that they make, and you don't know what form it's coming in. It's probably not the leaves themselves, which is, if you're consuming it in that form, it's probably fine. But really, I've tried to stay away from all sweetener other than raw honey that I bake with. And other than that, I try to rely on the sweetness of fruit, like half a banana in my smoothie or something, to really, sorry, I gotta move. To kind of, just get something sweet in my diet, because I have, I actually bought ice cream the other day. I haven't really tried that yet. I'm kind of waiting for things to calm down a little bit more, but I haven't had my ice cream binge in like a long time, and I usually do that like once or twice a year, but it's healthy organic ice cream with, good stuff in it. So I try to stay away from that gnarly, heavily laden processed ice cream and stuff. It's you just got to really take this into your own hands. This documentary I watched, it's frightening. They are putting Roundup in the seeds. They're green. Corn seed is green from the Roundup in it. It's supposed to make it resistant to weeds, but what's happened instead is now we have something like, I don't remember the exact amount, but it was like 9 or 10 species, it could have been more, I don't know, of weeds that are resistant to Roundup that it's created, so it's growing rampant. Bugs and insects that are now, it's like the bad bacteria that we tried to kill. They just are overriding the antibiotics, and now we've created this big ticking time bomb with all this stuff. And the really scary part for me is that even though I eat organic, all this corn seed and stuff that's grown in the GMO fields, when it sprouts, it blows the seed pods or whatever over into the organic farmers' fields, and they can't control that. So we're even getting some of it in the organic food supply, although it's probably not as bad than eating straight Roundup. But I'm kind of pissed about this stuff. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pissed about it. I'm really not happy that this stuff is happening in our world. I don't trust these big corporations. It's all about money and how much they can process. And in this video, they were saying that they were needing to make all this food to feed the world, which is complete crap, because the organic farmers were doing it for years and years before we had Roundup and GMOs and all this stuff, which started in the 90s. And all of a sudden, people are just not awake enough. The TV's hypnotizing them. They watch all these food commercials and all these drug commercials, and then they run to their doctor and they want this quick fix. Well, in some ways, the doctors are giving everybody what they asked for, because, like myself included, I want a quick fix to my anxiety. I wanted I needed to keep going. I had a job, I had responsibilities, and as a result, I learned a really hard lesson, because ultimately by taking the drug, I was able to keep going for a while and work, but at what cost? It destroyed my health, the drugs destroyed my health, and if I had just stopped at menopause and taken a break and learned how to meditate and do yoga and go inward and realize that I was biting off way more than I could chew, like most people are, because we're going at a ridiculous pace in this world with all the technology and buy. You get one app, you've got to have this part for that. And honestly, I have tried to limit my techno stuff to what I absolutely need to record my music, to stay in touch with the world with my computer, my desktop. I don't have a laptop, I don't have an iPod, I don't know how people keep up with all these gadgets. In fact, I broke down, and only because my phone provider gave me such a smoking deal and got a smartphone. Everybody that knows me is going to laugh about that one, because I swore I'd never get one. And you know, I'm still on the fence about it. I try to not use it for a whole lot of stuff, but it is more helpful because, you know, my flip phone didn't have a GPS when I'd get lost, which was a lot coming off benzos. So I think that the jury's still out on the phone thing. Well, I'll let you know. Barb was the first one to welcome me to the real world, I think she put it. So we'll see. I mean, it's nice to be able to go, like, how many calories are in 20 grams of spinach? Because it's all voice activated, and I have this person in my phone that talks to me, and I didn't know that existed with my flip phone, so it's a whole new world. What can I say? So anyway, my recommendation to everyone is, you know, obviously these drugs slow us down. I think we're the lucky ones, because we get a second chance, you know, before something else kills us, like a heart attack or GMOs or the drugs. Just a few things to mention. We actually get taken out of the loop for about, whatever, 3-4 years. In my case, it's been a little longer, but we get taken out of the loop, and we have to pay attention to our bodies. It's forcing us to. And so I think that in some ways, this whole kind of drug system, I'm not sure how I want to label that. I gotta watch what I say here. I think is sort of a learning curve for all of us. It's all taking us to places that maybe are really hard, but if we hadn't have been so quick to want an instant fix in the first place and keep going and at a ridiculous pace and fill ourselves up with all this crap, then we wouldn't have needed to take it. Because I think at how ridiculously healthy I was athletic, cycled, swam, you know, I sang rock and roll 5 nights a week. I've always been in impeccable health and always had tons of energy and was able to accomplish a lot. And this reduced me to a vegetable, hopefully not a GMO vegetable, but probably was, because they're probably made of something chemically as bad as Roundup for sure, because, yeah, God. So anyway, on that note, I think that takes care of everything that not that that's like not enough. I'm sure you guys have your fill. I hope you missed me. I missed you guys. It was hard. It was the hardest part about this is when you finally start feeling better, as good as I felt, and I still had rough days. It wasn't like everything was perfect yet. I still had some, obviously, I was biting off more than my body was ready to handle, and it let me know. I don't know how many of you follow astrology, but I've gotten into listening to all kinds of interesting things since I've been in recovery, because I just have hours where there's nothing but time. And I've got a song I'm working on called Too Much Nothing to Do is what it's called. It's kind of my inspiration over this last month of realizing how much free time I had to just do nothing for such a long time. And it does make you kind of more cognizant of things around you, where I was listening to these things. But this last month, the astrological things, there was the lunar eclipse, the solar eclipse, which I'm sure you all saw was really cool. It was all over the place. You couldn't miss it. First total eclipse in America in, I don't know, like a really long time. And then Mercury was retrograde for the majority, which just went direct last week, which communications and everything get jumbled up. And oh my God, it was like the worst month I've had probably since the pneumonia last January. So it was rough. And from what I had heard from other posts that I was watching and things that were going on, it seemed that a lot of other people went through waves at the same time I did. It was like pretty weird. It was just like it hit everybody and flattened everybody at one time. But okay, so this, I think I'm done. Finally. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I hope this will help you guys in your process, because you don't want to make the same mistakes that I made. And I wish you well, and I hope that you're still all hanging in there and staying the course, because it's a journey of a warrior to get through this. And so I got your back. If you need anything, just email me or post something. Let me know how things are going, okay? Take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Hopefully it won't be another month before I'm back on here, but you never know, because a lot of stuff's going on for me right now. So we'll talk to you soon. Bye.